After 7 months and 19 events, the Haas IndyCar Series 2022 season is ready to conclude at the dangerous and fast Pocono Raceway in Long Pond, Pennsylvania. Today, these 26 IndyCar Series drivers will take 50 laps around this 2.5-mile triangle. One will get the race victory, and another driver will get the championship. It's the Haas World Championship 200K from the Pocono Raceway in the 2022 Haas IndyCar Series. Hello everybody, this is AG here, and welcome to the Pocono Raceway in Long Pond, Pennsylvania, as we are here for the finale race in the 2022 Haas IndyCar Series. We've made it to 20 races. With all the postponements and everything else, we made it to 20 races here this season, and we are going to have ourselves an excellent championship battle in this final race. Brian Rodriguez holds the points lead by 5 points ahead of Trey Smith. Everybody else is out of championship contention. If either of those two drivers win this race here today, they will win the 2022 Haas IndyCar Series Championship. Otherwise, it will be a points battle throughout the 50 laps we run in this race here today. I'm joined alongside Josh Williamson for the call of this race. Brian Rodriguez starts on the pole position, grabbed an extra point for winning the pole. What does he need to do, and what does Trey Smith need to do in order to win this championship here today?
Well, Trey Smith's going to be starting up from the outside lane. He's going to have a very difficult time getting going here. He may need a caution to get a single file restart to get up to the front, but if Brian Rodriguez, I know he's starting on the pole position, if he slips up from the bottom, oh, he's done. Mm-hmm. So, they're both going to need each other to struggle in the corners, but these Indy cars, they have a lot of grip going around here. Even then, they'll slip up from time to time. Brian Rodriguez is starting in the best position, obviously. Trey Smith, if he doesn't get down to the bottom very quick, he's done for. It's going to be very hard for him to win this championship today. But it's like you said, if they one of them could win, absolutely go and do that, but there's also a 5-point separation between second and third, so that is something to factor into this championship battle today. If it comes down to that, boy, they are going to be racing awful hard. It's going to be an exciting championship battle here in the Pocono Mountains.
It definitely will, and Trey Smith does hold the tiebreaker on Brian Rodriguez regardless if Rodriguez wins this race or not. Trey Smith has won 3 times this season, so he holds it ahead with a 13, so Trey Smith has a notch of an advantage right there, but like you said, he starts on the outside lane for this race. The good thing for Trey Smith is this is a 50-lap race, the second longest race on the schedule, and Trey Smith won the longest race on the schedule, the Indianapolis 250, back in May. And there is no other track on the circuit more similar to Indianapolis than this one. But I'm not saying it's exactly similar. This is a very different racetrack than the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Sure, Turn 2 is basically a carbon copy of a corner at Indianapolis, but Turn 1 is a very high-speed, high-banked turn, and then turn number 3, these guys actually have to slow down to about 170 miles per hour to get through that turn cleanly. Then it's a wide sweep through turn 3 down the front straightaway, and that front straightaway is about a mile long, so they're coming with a full head of steam heading into turn number 1. The good thing is it's only a 50-lap race, so half the length for the Indianapolis 250, but there will be a cycle of pit stops in today's event, about a 27 to 28 lap fuel run for these guys, so it's going to be just past halfway. So if we do get a caution at a certain time, it could end up being a fuel mileage race or a 2-stop race here in this Haas World Championship 200K. We will go ahead and get these drivers to roll off here from the Pocono Raceway. 26 drivers in the field for this finale race. And like I mentioned, the points leader, Brian Rodriguez, 472 points coming into this season, an average finishing position of 8.68. Much better than anybody else in the field. Going to lead this field to the green flag. He starts alongside the Portland winner of Nicholas San Mateo in the number 31. Nathan Faden has won this race before. He won it back in 2019. He starts to the inside of Zach Winkle. Brock Nelson to the inside of his brother Brandon Nelson in row number 3. Thomas Troxel starts to the inside of Chris Reynolds in row number 4. Logan Williams and Jay Knapp make up row number 5. And then Cole Raymond starting to the inside of the other championship competitor, Trey Smith, who comes into this race 5 points behind Brian Rodriguez. Of course, Rodriguez did get that bonus point for winning the pole, and that point is being calculated into that 5 points. So all Trey Smith needs to do is win this race, and he'll win the championship. But you saw the points format there at the top of the show, and it could get very interesting, especially if both of these drivers finish deep in the field. Got Ace Garcia, Eric Monaco in the row behind him as you take a look through the rest of the field. And Josh, give me a race pick and a championship pick. Who do you think is going to win the race, and who do you think will win the Haas IndyCar Series Championship in 2022?
Well, for race winners, I would say Thomas Troxel is probably one of the better bets. They're starting in the 7th position. He knows how to get it done at Pocono. He's done it in the Body Armor Cup Series at least once. He did it in the Trinity River Cup Series on the 4th of July weekend this year. So I could see him winning the race. But the championship pick, you're going to have a tough time knocking Brian Rodriguez out of that championship lead if Trey Smith doesn't get going. I think Brian Rodriguez may have this in the bag leading into the rest of the race, but we'll have to see at the end of 50 laps.
We will. Brian Rodriguez starts on the pole, and the green flag is out. Here at Pocono, the Haas World Championship 200K is green in the Haas IndyCar Series. Well, it's going to be another point for Brian Rodriguez. Lap led for the number 13 on lap number 1. And so that is a point that Trey Smith currently does not have. So a 6-point gap now. Of course, it's much larger, as you see in the corner of your screen, as they run. But we'll have to see how it all goes down. Trey Smith still in the back of the field here in the number 41, trying to find his way on the inside lane. He started in the 12th position, and he is still stuck on that outside lane as Ethan Lewis moves to the inside of him through turn number 2.
Fortunately for him, though, I'd say most of the field seems to have singled out. Well, they're getting double file again, at least in the midfield, but up ahead, it is Rodriguez pulling away as it looks like an overtake there for second, with Brock Nelson getting around the 00 of Nathan Faden, who slips back to the 3rd position. Former winner of this race, if I'm not mistaken, race there, Nathan Faden running there in that 3rd position. Looking good here early on at the Pocono Raceway. Trey Smith, just not a fantastic start right now. Not a good starting position, obviously, even before this. So he's going to have his work cut out for him today. But we still got 47 laps to go this next time through. We'll have to see if he can maybe march his way back up to the front. Long race today here in the Pocono Mountains.
Absolutely. He's currently 19th right now in that 41 machine, and you'll see the points as they run in the top right-hand corner of your screen, assuming that I have the drive to do it. Sometimes I don't, but I'll promise you, I'll do it for this one. You've got Logan Williams here looking on Nathan Faden, but unable to get the move right there, and these guys definitely have singled out here. And that may be a little bit harder to pass than what we may have thought heading into this race. Brian Rodriguez holding on to this race lead. He's led every lap so far, and that's exactly what he wants. If either Rodriguez or Trey Smith wins, they win the championship. Got Brock Nelson there in second. Great run for him. He has not had a good season. The Nathan Faden, Logan Williams, Nicholas Samedeo, the top 5. Look back here and see if Trey Smith is making any progress right behind. Reggie Fogelman there still in the 19th position here on lap 4. But like I said, you got to keep in mind, we will have a cycle of pit stops in this race, and that will greatly determine who gets the race victory and who gets the championship here in the Haas IndyCar Series.
From what I've seen at Pocono, oh yeah, they're side by side into turn number 1, and the position going to
Brandon Nelson in the 22, taking it away from Ace Garcia. Noah Clifton is here in the 23. He won the last race we had here in the Haas IndyCar Series at Watkins Glen last week. He won that second race. And Jesse Turner won the first one. Exciting finish in that first race with Jesse Turner getting around Caleb Rose. We may see something similar here today. It's very possible we could see a last lap pass in this race, especially if these guys stay close to each other, which they're going to stay close to each other here today. No doubt about it. Trey Smith now up to the 18th position as he gets around the 50 machine. Now 17th for Trey Smith, so he's trying to creep his way up, but not at all the place you want to be. Considering that your championship rival is up front leading laps, and you got to think, too, get an extra bonus point if you lead the most laps here in a Haas IndyCar Series race, and I know Rodriguez is going to be going for that here, considering that he's leading this field right now.
And nobody seems to be making a move on him, at least for now, for that top position. I don't know that they're close enough to. He's just up there dominating early on, as it looks like we had an overtake there on, I believe that's the Brandon Nelson car. And into what position is that?
That would be sure. Noah Clifton making a move there on Brandon Nelson. Sam Medea was looking there on Logan Williams, but did not have a run to the inside of him there. These top 5 still in their respective positions here on lap 7 of 50. Brock Nelson looking close here on this 13 machine. Now, it could get very interesting if Rodriguez gets shuffled to that outside lane. He could end up losing a few positions if that does in fact occur, and let's have to see if that does happen at some point throughout this race. Trey Smith lost another position as Justin Zeidel's moving up through the field with Caleb Rose right there, down in the 18th position after starting 12th, but everyone's kind of settled into their positions at this point, and we're kind of waiting for that cycle of green flag pit stops, I do believe, in this race. We'll have to see how that affects the field, but Rodriguez still out front there in the 13, trying to keep this field at bay. You have Noah Clifton now making a move on the 95 of Cole Raymond. Now to the 6th position right behind the gearbox of Nicholas Amadeo.
Great overtake there by Noah Clifton. Meanwhile, here to the inside goes the 18 of Logan Williams, going after former winner of this race, Nathan Faden, for that back of the podium position there. He's looking to the inside and in behind the 31 of Nicholas Samadeo. Not going to have the edge, at least for the moment. Noah Clifton will try to pounce on the opportunity to get up into the top 5. Let's get a good look at the entire field, 1st to 26th, as we are now on lap 9 of 50 here in the Haas World Championship 200K.
Ethan Lewis here with Nathan Faden on the outside lane. That might be a battle here in a moment. And Noah Clifton moving up there, getting around Sam Medeo and Faden. He's going to move up to the 4th position. And that number 23 looks to be one of the stronger cars in this race. Here comes Logan Williams looking for the 2nd position on Brock Nelson. He got around the 00, and now he's going to try to get around the 17 for the 2nd place. But no one has been able to get to Brian Rodriguez yet in this event, and if Rodriguez leads the most laps in this race, it's another point that Trey Smith is going to have to fend off here, and it's not looking good for that 41 right now the way things are, because he's not been able to move up at all from that 18th position. 3 wide.
Oh,
Cole Raymond, Zach Wickel, and Nicholas Amadeo getting shuffled out of line right there. First time we've seen that all race, but they made it work.
Goodness gracious, what a ballsy move. Headed off into that first turn. They got through it somehow. The 95 of Cole Raymond is the benefactor from that, getting a 2-for-1 special. And here we go, side by side for that 3rd position. That is, I believe that's
Angel Olvera.
Olvera down to the inside, yeah. On
great
Noah
run
Clifton.
for him. And all of a sudden, he's in the podium position.
Excellent move through that 3rd corner as they single file out again for the first 10 positions there. We got a little bit of side-by-side going on behind, but up front it's still Brian Rodriguez is there. That, I believe, is
Cole Raymond there to the inside. And Nathan
Cole Raymond
Faden.
again.
And he's moving up through the field very well. Same with Olvera. Olvera's going to try to take
here
second
we go again.
And you got to think here for a second. Olvera and Rodriguez are teammates there. Andrew Williams' team. So, will Olvera actually try to take the lead away from Rodriguez? Because that 25 seems to be the fastest car on the track right now. Fastest lap of the race goes to Ethan Lewis, but Olvera's got the 2nd fastest lap, and that was probably pretty recent that he got that fast time in. So we'll have to see.
He's breaking away from his teammate there. You see he's closing in on Rodriguez a little bit, heading down that front stretch into turn 1. You see 3-way battle going on for that 3rd position. Looks like Clifton is going to get through there in the 23.
Noah Clifton there, going to settle into the 3rd position. Ethan Lewis in 4th, and then you got Logan Williams there in the 5th position. Brock Nelson, Cole Raymond, Nathan Faden, Scott Upton inside the top 10, and then Elijah Gordon rounds out the top 10 right now. And Trey Smith, 17th on the grid right now. We'll have to see. He hasn't lost any ground to these guys, but He's not really gaining much either. As for the race lead, we might finally see our first pass for the lead here, and Angel Oliveira going to try to do it in turn 1. It's hard to get that inside lane to stick down the front stretch, but he's going to do it. And a new race leader here at Pocono. It's Angel Oliveira in the 25, and now things are going to get interesting. Because saw Nicholas Amadio. He fell back quite a bit there. He's now only 3 positions ahead of Trey Smith. If Rodriguez is not careful and gets stuck in that outside lane, which he's going to file in right behind his teammate for that second position, he could find himself back in there with Trey Smith. And all Trey Smith needs at this point is 6 points for the championship.
Oh, here he goes, right back to the inside.
Has that point for leading the most laps. He may actually lead this lap after the line. Oh, I don't know.
Why?
I think Oliveira will get a point right there. But Rodriguez doesn't need to lead every lap to get that extra point for the most laps led. He's led 13 so far in this race. And Oliveira's led 1, and that's it. Then that's been it.
And here comes Ethan Lewis right up behind the gearbox of Brian Rodriguez, who slips back to the outside in front of his teammate Angel Oliveira. Off into the tunnel turn they go. They'll head through the short chute between turns 2 and 3. We'll see if Lewis can maybe get a dive going here into the corner. He's taking a look into that corner. Rodriguez is up a little higher as Clifton there side by side with Oliveira for that 3rd position as they head down the front straightaway, almost a mile long. He'll file in behind that 13 for now, but will he have a chance at the lead headed off into that first corner?
We'll have to see. He's got an opportunity, but he's going to stay right behind him. Another thing to consider, tire wear is going to be coming into effect here, and that's especially critical in turn 3 when they really have to check it up. And even turn 2, I know it's a high-speed corner, it's a very tight corner there in turn number 2, so these guys need to conserve their tires when they can if they're going to have a good run at this point in the race. Trey Smith's still back in there in 17th behind Caleb Rose. Not really getting much going his way. He's going to have to take strategy in order for him to get around Rodriguez. Or a bad pit stop out of Rodriguez. I mean, this thing is far from over. Only lap 15 of 50 now, lap 16 of 50 underway. So a lot can happen between now and the finish of this race, but it does appear that these guys might be able to keep a clean race the entire way through. This single file throughout the entire field right now, and those tires are really starting to wear out. And I think that's why we're seeing what we're seeing right now with all these guys single file here at Pocono.
Certainly could be the case, but either way, Rodriguez still up ahead, looking to get some more bonus points, but Ethan Lewis closing in, a little bit of a draft there, heading through the tunnel turn into turn number 3. The most treacherous corner on this racetrack is there goes Oliveira back around to Noah Clifton, now looking to go after Ethan Lewis for that 2nd position. And back to the pit cycles real quick. I tend to see, at least for Pocono, that the first guys to come down into the pits are the ones that have the advantage going towards the end of the race. I don't know what you've seen. Maybe it doesn't really matter a whole lot, but it tends to be, at least for me, the undercut is the way to go. So it's going to be interesting, at least, to see who comes down first and who may choose to stretch it to the end of the run here, and we'll see if maybe that ends up working out for them instead. As Oliveira goes back into that 2nd position, trying to chase his teammate back down. He may even just play defense right now. No, I don't think he's going to. He's right up behind the gearbox of that 13, and here he goes, side by side.
He's got a shot again for this race lead. And the one thing about the undercut, if you try to take it and a caution comes out, that's it. There is a bit of a risk in doing so, but like I said, these guys have been doing a great job keeping things together. Trey Smith, still 17th. Might get a shot here on on Reggie Fogelman, I should say. But the way things are right now, I don't think he's going to really have much of an opportunity to do anything on the racetrack. It's going to have to be on that pit cycle where he gains any bit of an advantage. Rodriguez there in 2nd now, but comfortably in 2nd. Ethan Lewis, Noah Clifton would love to put him on the outside and possibly have a shot at this race win ahead of Angel Oliveira. You got Brock Nelson there on the inside, Nathan Faden with Elijah Gordon there. Not much movement going on through the field. Trey Smith was looking there on Chris Reynolds. He got one on Reggie Fogelman, so he's now up to the 16th position. But drops in the bucket right now for Trey Smith in terms of positions on the racetrack from where he started and where he fell back to. And you see the way they run in the points right now in the corner of your screen, and it's still a big gap right now for Brian Rodriguez in this championship.
And there's a bit of a gap opening between the lead pack and the back half of the field, so that could make things even more difficult for Trey Smith to get up towards the front, as here comes Lewis to the inside of Rodriguez. This is not what you want for This is not what Brian Rodriguez wants. He wants to stay up there in the lead group. So if Lewis could get back by him, that could be treacherous, but Lewis is going to get back in line. Clifton's now going to have to deal with Cole Raymond as that 95 slings to the inside. And he might just get the position.
Cole Raymond's trying here on this inside lane compared to the 23. Have to see if he can get something to go his way right here, but it's looking like these tires are really coming into effect right now, and it's difficult to get anything to work at this point. And that's something that we're going to see near the end of this race as well, because the fuel mileage window, the tire window, is just a little bit past halfway. So what we're seeing right now is about what we're going to see at the end of the race. And you want to be in your positions when you can if you want to get the race victory. And of course, for Trey Smith and Brian Rodriguez, you want to be in the positions you want to be in if you want to win the championship. Trey Smith, if I'm Trey Smith, you got nothing to lose at this point. Go for the undercut and try to surpass that 13 in some way, shape, or form on the racetrack by doing the pit cycle. Oh boy, interesting right here.
Whoa.
Almost 3 wide for a minute right there with Zidell, Brock Nelson, and Nathan Faden. And Justin Zidell moving up through the field here fairly well. He was with Trey Smith at one point. He's been moving up greatly, and then we got Rodriguez trying again on his teammate. But Angel Oliveira's going to get that outside lane to work to his advantage. A lot of grip up there right now, and that 25 is going to stay out front.
And Clifton going way low on the straightaway, and now Cole Raymond's going to pop out of line, but get back in line, and the top 10 will stay single file heading off into that first corner. Angel Oliveira continues to lead the way as Faden side by side with
Brock
is
Nelson
that the 17?
Yep.
17 of Nelson. He'll move into the top 10, headed off into the tunnel turn, and Nelson will pop it. Oh man, Faden got tight, headed off into that corner. Keeps it under control as here's Trey Smith marching up through the field a little bit.
Yeah, he just got around Brandon Nelson now up to 15th for Trey Smith, and I thought he come kind of low through the exit at the corner right there. I thought we saw Chris Reynolds peeking down to the pit lane for a second, but not the case. Continue the battle up front, and Oliveira continues to lead the field. We've only had 2 different leaders so far in this race, Angel Oliveira and Brian Rodriguez. Oliveira took the lead away, I don't know, was about lap 19 or so?
Something like that.
And he led 1 lap earlier on. So that would be 5 laps for Oliveira, and then the rest going to Rodriguez, about 17 laps for Rodriguez at this point. And here comes Ethan Lewis
boy.
To the inside of Rodriguez there for the second position, trying to get a position away from that 13. Trey Smith's right there. He's not falling back. Trey Smith is staying right with these guys, and I think that's a huge thing for that 41 machine. If he can do something on this cycle of pit stops that gets him close to Rodriguez, he might have a shot here. But he's got to do 6 points, and, if Rodriguez happens to lead more laps and gets the most laps led, he could have to fend off 7 points ahead of that 13 machine. We'll have to see if that's the case.
FedEx Express car of Ethan Lewis is going to have the express lane on the inside there going through the corner as he's going to get to that second position. Trey Smith got up to the lead group, and if Brian Rodriguez, he's getting shuffled. We haven't really seen this, and Smith got up there with the lead group as they're actually kind of starting to come together once again. There was a gap earlier on. Now they're really just one again as 3 wide. Hello, Logan Williams. Almost got down there to the inside of Cole Raymond. That could have been a treacherous move heading off into the corner. Thought better if it stays in line. But Rodriguez now down to, I believe he's in the 4th position at the moment. So, not in a position that he's been used to all day long, but still in the best of positions as far as the championship goes.
Chris Rodriguez has not, had to worry too much about the championship, and still really doesn't have much to worry about at this point, at least in terms of positions. All he needs to do is finish ahead of Trey Smith, and he wins the championship. It's pretty simple for him, but the thing is, Trey Smith is starting to close back in here a little bit. He may actually be under fire from Zach Winkle. Now he's going for 14th. So he's got another position right there on the 28 machine, and he's getting closer. They're only separated by 10 positions, and that's pretty close heading into a cycle of pit stops here. We're halfway through this Haas World Championship 200K. We'll have to see how many laps Oliveira ends up leading here, because if Rodriguez gets that extra bonus point, that could really shake things up. It could come down to that once we get to it later on in this race. Rodriguez going to try to make a move again on Scott Upton. Didn't mention Scott Upton there.
Here we go.
Here we go. Oh, Trey Smith is staying out here. We'll have to see. Different strategies between these guys. We'll have to see what Rodriguez can do here on the pit lane, but right at halfway, these guys coming down the pit lane for their stop. They know it's time. They know they can make it to the end. And the last pit stop of the season here for the Haas IndyCar Series.
And it looks like the majority of the field came down onto the pit road. Rodriguez, will come down to stall number 1 in the pits. Of course, we'll have to see when everybody else comes around here how quickly they can get going. These guys are going to have a speed advantage coming out of the pits, and Lewis, the first one to come out of the pits, Oliveira the second one. We'll have to see if Rodriguez could get going. Lewis looks like he's going to come out first.
That was a clean stop out of Rodriguez.
Rodriguez in second.
Very clean stop out of Rodriguez there, and he took 4 tires, and that's a huge advantage now. If you Trey Smith, you can't take 4 tires here. You're not going to be able to beat Rodriguez if you do that. So if you're Trey Smith, I think you go 4 tires right here and just hope for the best. Hope your team can get you out there on a fast stop. We'll have to see what he can do right here. We'll follow with the 41. Oh, contact there between Chris Reynolds and Thomas Troxel, and I think Reynolds' car may have fallen off the jack, and that's a tough break there for the 50 machine.
Yikes.
Thankfully, that did not happen to Trey Smith. A clean stop out of Trey Smith. You see Rodriguez coming off of turn 3 right here.
Here we go.
And that 13 is going to have a full head of steam coming down this front stretch here.
This is where it's going to be interesting, heading off into that first corner.
Oh boy, they're going to be close.
Goodbye.
Trey Smith's got to get up to speed, but in terms of positions, he's right there. Ethan Lewis, I think, is going to take the race lead away from Scott Upton, and Rodriguez is third. Angel Oliveira fell back. A bit of a tough stop for him, but that was a great stop for Trey Smith. He did an excellent job.
He's a lot closer than I thought he was going to be. I didn't think he was going to be that close, like as far as distance on the racetrack. Goodness gracious,
he's got tires on this 41 right here, so we'll have to see how long it takes for him to get back up to speed here, but he's a lot closer to Rodriguez than how it was before. Ethan Lewis, the new race leader. Rodriguez going for second on the 0-2. And Trey Smith, all he needs to do is really let the 25 by. Well, he's going to have to let Caleb Rose and Noah Clifton by. But it's far from over. He can find a way around this 13. He's just got to get out of this outside lane right here and go to the front.
He's going to have a ton of drafting help, too. He's got those 4 cars around him. Rodriguez up there with... well, I don't know about help from the 0-2, but that's there for leverage, and Ethan Lewis there leading the way. He's for certain utilizing some draft coming off of the 11. Now. And there they are, singled out around the Indianapolis 250 winner, Trey Smith. Here he goes to the inside, looking for a position there, not quite able to do it, at least for the moment.
No, if I'm Trey
55 of Caleb Rose,
I think I want to stay right with these guys, because I don't want to try to pass them or anything. Like you said, he's got that drafting help. He wants to catch up to Rodriguez first, and then have them try to pass Rodriguez so he can get the advantage. He gained about 7 positions from where he was on the racetrack, coming in a lap later, and the benefit that he will have, those tires are going to be slightly fresher near the end of the run compared to Rodriguez, so... he might be at some bit of an advantage. Rodriguez, 0.22 behind Ethan Lewis, and then the 41 of Trey Smith, 2.41 seconds. So about 2.2 seconds from Rodriguez to Trey Smith. And that could very well close in 20 laps, no doubt about it.
I could imagine these guys are going to accordion together the further along this race goes, and Trey Smith, I don't want to jinx it, but I think he might still have a... well, we know he's still got a shot. It's just a matter of time. There's 19 laps to go this time around. He's just going to need to keep doing exactly what he's doing right now. A caution would probably even make it better for the 41, but I don't know that that's going to happen with us spread out as the field is now coming off of that pit cycle. He's just got to wheel that thing to a championship now, and he's got 19 more laps to do it.
Closed in 0.2 of a second right there. Trey Smith did. You know, Trey Smith has been up front in this championship pretty much the entire season. He won that race at Riverside and has pretty much been a contender all season long. Rodriguez really did not join the party until 6-7 races ago. And Trey Smith knows he does not want this championship to fall out of his hands after winning the Indy 250 and then winning the race after that. Thought he was unstoppable. Then right after that, he finished last in 2 straight races. That really held him back, but here he is still with an opportunity, trying to close in on this 13 in these last 18 laps at Pocono. He doesn't need to panic right now, and he is still closing in about 2/10 each time here on Rodriguez. But Rodriguez, if he can get back around Ethan Lewis and lead some more laps, get that extra bonus point, that's going to be huge for him. That 7-point gap could mean everything in terms of this championship here at Pocono.
We'll have to see how it works out here in these final 17.5 laps. It is certainly going to be exciting as Trey Smith still in behind the 55 of Caleb Rose there, the Aero Electronics car. As up front, Rodriguez closing in right on the backside of Ethan Lewis through that third corner. Not going to pull out of line for the moment. Still single file up there as we see a little side-by-side action going on a little further back. But Caleb Rose there, intentionally or unintentionally, providing some drafting help for number 2 in the championship coming into this race. We'll have to see if he can get back up to Brian Rodriguez. Well, not back up to him. He hasn't really been up there all day, but Brian Rodriguez just trying to cruise home from here. He's trying not to think about Trey Smith there. He doesn't want anything to worry about. But if Smith keeps closing in as they continue to accordion together, you see lap after lap after lap. Whew. Buckle your belts, folks, because it's going to be one heck of a ride to the end of this race.
I think he may have stalled out just a little bit right there. Didn't gain anything that last lap. But if things get a little interesting up front, Rodriguez ends up getting passed by Upton, and he falls back. You know, you could be seeing that 41 possibly making a move here. Little note on Caleb Rose. Guarantee you he has a chip on his shoulder after last week. He finished runner-up in both races last week and almost won the first one and overshot the last corner, gave the win to Jesse Turner. But then finished runner-up the next day in a less dramatic finish. But here he is with an opportunity as we got Cole Raymond closing in here on the 0-2, and he might get a run on Rodriguez. A very good head of steam there into that 95. He's just alongside Upton for the moment. Able to get around Rodriguez, but that 95 could put that 13 in a bit of a bind. And Trey Smith is quite literally right there. So right now it's still 6 points between Rodriguez and Trey Smith heading into the race. Of course, you see the updated points in the corner of your screen. As right here, Raymond to the inside.
And right to the inside he goes. He's now got to also worry about the 0-2 of Scott Upton. A little further back in the PBG colors as Rodriguez up on the outside. There's O'Hara, there's Rose, and there's Trey Smith a little further back.
He only lost one position there.
Oh boy.
But they're getting closer and closer. And right now, Trey Smith needs 6 points on Rodriguez. He can tie with that 13, but he only needs 6 points at the moment because Ethan Lewis, no one's clinched that point yet, so Rodriguez does not have it at the moment. Ethan Lewis has been leading since the cycle ended, lap 29, so he's got 8 laps to Rodriguez's 17. So keep in mind, if Lewis continues to stay out front here now, if Raymond takes this lead, Rodriguez might get that point, and it might be a 7-point gap. And that could mean the difference. Because if one finishes third, the other finishes 6th, well, guess what? That's a 7-point gap right there. It really could mean the difference. We'll just have to see. These guys are all over Rodriguez. And Trey Smith is still hanging tough here. He's losing a little bit of time there to Caleb Rose, but he's still in that 7th position, 1.25 seconds behind now. And these 5 guys all on each other for the race lead with 13 laps to go in the Haas World Championship 200K. And for the race lead,
here comes Cole Raymond. Right to the inside of Ethan Lewis, heading down Long Pond straightaway into Tunnel Turn. Oh man, Lewis almost cut him off, but Raymond into the race lead here at the Pocono Raceway.
And that's good for Rodriguez because that means Lewis, if Raymond stays out front the rest of this race, Lewis is not going to get that extra point for the most laps led. It will stay with Rodriguez, who still leads the most laps, so it might be safe to say at this point it might be a 17 or a 7-point gap that Trey Smith will have to surpass on Rodriguez, but right now he's still behind him. And he may have lost his drafting help there with Caleb Rose.
He may very well have. That's a big gap now from the 55 to the 41. But Oliveira right there behind his teammate. Now, we've seen Oliveira hasn't been afraid to make moves on his teammate. Glad to see. Maybe that could hurt Rodriguez a little bit. But here's Rodriguez going to the inside of Lewis, looking for some brownie points if Trey Smith stays behind him.
He's going to go up to the second position. I mean, I think you would want some bit of a buffer in between him and Trey Smith at this point. That's going to be 2 for 1 right there that Ethan Lewis loses. Down to the 4th position. Caleb Rose right there in the 55. Trey Smith still hanging on. He still has a sniff of that draft of Scott Upton right ahead of him. Oliveira, he's pretty close to this 13. We'll have to see if he tries to make a move on his teammate. And you know what? If he does, Rodriguez could get sent to the end of this line. And guess who's next in line? Trey Smith.
And again, Oliveira has not been afraid to make moves on his teammate all day long, so it would not be a surprise to me. But Trey Smith, this is what is a surprise to me. Rodriguez making that move on Lewis into the second position, that brought the 41 right back into this thing because Scott Upton slipped back a little bit, and now Smith has caught the draft of that 0-2 and is back up with the lead pack. So these final 9.5 laps, we'll have to see if Smith can get anything going. Oliveira there parked right behind his teammate. I don't know if he's playing defense or what. He looks like he's got a little bit of a run going. Oh,
he's going to try it. He's going to try it. Oh, boy. Now Ethan Lewis will probably also get an advantage. I think Caleb Rose might as well. It all depends if Lewis can hold the inside. He will. He will.
Oh, yeah, he's got it.
He's got a nose. I don't know if he's going to hold it down the front stretch, though. This is going to be tough. So it may have just been one position again, and it looks like it was.
Yes.
So Rodriguez dodged a bullet right there. He's not going to be happy with his teammate doing that to him, but I think Oliveira wants this win. He's only won at Lime Rock before in his career. Wants to get an oval win in the Haas IndyCar series. The thing is, Trey Smith isn't closing in on this pack. He's the same distance behind him, while the guys behind him are closing in on him. Now, he may be waiting for these guys to close in behind him so he gets a bit of a run on these guys. But meanwhile, Cole Raymond is pulling ahead. He's got about a half-second lead at this point in this race. And another thing to keep in mind, too, is the tire wear is going to get more and more significant as this run goes along, and it's going to be about as significant as it can be at the end of this race, so it's going to be harder and harder to make a pass. But if you do get someone on that outside lane, they're really going to fall back more than likely. Then again, too, the outside lane actually works out better. Now, another thing to keep in mind, Chris Reynolds, remember he had his issue on the pit lane. He's back out there. I think he's up to speed, so I don't think he's off the pace or anything, but he could possibly get in the way of our race leaders before this race is done.
They do appear to be catching him ever so slightly as Lewis. Here we go, down
Lewis
to the
isn't
inside.
wasting any time.
Into that third position, or at least he's trying to be. But ironically, the last time Ethan Lewis tried the move, Oliveira had just gotten around Rodriguez, but then he provided drafting assistance for Rodriguez to stay ahead of that 11. I don't think that's going to happen this time. As
And that's
looks
going to
like
open the door for Caleb
and
Rose.
Upton might have a shot down to the inside as well, down the long
about
straightaway.
Upton. If Caleb Rose stays alongside him heading into the tunnel turn, both Upton and Trey Smith may get him.
Uh-oh. Oh, here we go. Yep, this
gonna
is going
file
to be
in.
really interesting now.
He's going to file in, but now they're only 2 positions apart. Now remember, Trey Smith, at this point, considering that Cole Raymond is still leading this race, I don't know if anyone's going to get to him. I think Rodriguez has that extra bonus point for leading the most laps. So he needs 7 on Rodriguez to win this championship, and he only has 6 laps to get 7 points on Rodriguez here, and he's 2 positions behind him. Scott Upton is Trey Smith's best friend right now. Because what he is hoping for is Upton makes a move on the 13, and the 13 gets shoveled to the end of this line, and that could be enough.
Have to see what happens if Upton can get up there and behind the 13. Oh, wow.
And for
Big
the lead.
Run through the tunnel turn as Oliveira up there looking for the lead on Raymond. Into the third turn they go.
There.
Ooh,
Lewis might go for second. And Clifton might make a move on Trey Smith here. That's not at all what Trey Smith wants, but I don't know if he's got a nose. He doesn't.
And
So
he doesn't really have
Smith
anywhere to get
will
back in
stay
line
in that
going into the
position.
turn.
I said, I don't think Trey Smith is quite as fast as some of these other guys right now, and I think that's a bit of a disadvantage for him. And Upton, it's all going to come down to if Upton makes this pass on the 13, if he can make the pass on the 13 here. But you got to keep in mind, Rodriguez could easily make a pass back on Caleb Rose again. Cole Raymond continues to lead this race, looking for his second win of the season. Won the second race at the Indy Road Course. Here we go. That's a really good run out of Scott Upton. They shuffled ahead of him, and I think that disrupted the air on the 13. The only thing is, I don't think Upton's going to have enough to keep that nose to the inside.
Side by side and opened the door for Smith potentially. You see, he closed in tremendously, headed down that front straightaway as side by side up ahead between Rose and Lewis. Give the position to Caleb Rose, and Rodriguez is trying to get down to the inside of the 11 to give himself some more leverage, but we are now coming around for 3 laps to go this next time through, and here comes Rodriguez down to the inside of Lewis.
I don't think Rodriguez is going to have a good entry into the corner here. Oh, Trey Smith. Oh, I thought he might have something on Scott Upton. Wyman trying to make the pass himself on Rodriguez. Unable to do so. Rodriguez does have it on Ethan Lewis. Or does he? If he holds the inside in the turn 1, he's going to keep it.
He's got the nose advantage right now, heading off into the turn. Smith is running out of time. Rodriguez has a ton of leverage right now. I know it's only 2 cars, but he also has the points lead coming in. Smith would need to get roughly 7 points now over that 13 to get this championship. And here
Trey
he goes
Smith
to the
isn't wasting
inside
time. He's got
Upton.
Scott Upton. He made that look easy. Will he get around Ethan Lewis? It's 2 laps to go next time by, and for the race lead, Angel Olvera to the inside for the top position. So Olvera takes it with 2 laps to go. Caleb Rose is up here, and so is Cole Raymond. I don't know what's going to happen here. Rodriguez might be getting held up just a little bit by these 2 guys going side by side. And that could bring in Ethan Lewis, and if that does, that could bring Trey Smith around him. Oh boy. Lewis has a shot. He got it. He's got it.
Raymond got the run on the outside in turn 1, and here comes Lewis down low.
And will Trey Smith be able to make the move? He's going on the outside through the tunnel turn. Might not get that much of an advantage. We'll have to see if he can slingshot to the inside. Help the 11. He wants to keep this 23 close to him. And Trey Smith might have a nose. He does not, and he's got clipped into the inside of him. White flag in the air for Angel Olvera. And Trey Smith is right behind the 13. You got to make the move now. And for the race lead, Cole Raymond on the 25. Try to keep them both in the frame. They're side by side for the race lead on the final lap. Will Trey Smith make a move?
I don't think he's close enough.
They're still side by side for the race lead. Olvera going to try on an outside lane. The tires are really worn out at this point. But Cole Raymond might get it right here.
He's going to have the dive into the third turn. Yep,
that's it for him. Rodriguez in the 13 is going to hold on. Cole Raymond will win the Haas World Championship 200K. And Brian Rodriguez wins the 2022 Haas IndyCar Series Championship.
Man, oh man, oh man.
And he's going to win the championship by 11 points, I do believe. Right at the end, Cole Raymond takes the win away from Angel Olvera, and Rodriguez was able to hold on. Trey Smith did an excellent job, considering the start that he had. He did everything he could, and that's got to hurt for Trey Smith, leading in this championship so much throughout the season, winning the Indianapolis 250, and just coming up short near the end. There is your champion, Brian Rodriguez, in his first ever series on the channel, wins the Haas IndyCar Series Championship in 2022 for Andrew Williams and Wisconsin Speedworks. They almost got the sweep. Olvera almost won the race, but they're going to get the championship right there with the number 13 and Brian Rodriguez. How about that right there for that team?
Big congratulations to them. That's a heck of a way to cap off what has been a tremendous season of Haas IndyCar Series racing. Brian Rodriguez did just about everything you could have expected him to do today. He won the pole, and he's come here and he finished ahead of Trey Smith, exactly what he needed to do, and he's taken home the big trophy for Andrew Williams. Trey Smith, it's like you said, if he'd have started up a little further in the starting grid, he could have easily had a shot at taking away this championship, but to come that close, oh my goodness. Trey Smith knows what it's like to win a championship, though. He won the Turkey Hill National Championship in 2020, won the Trinity River Cup Championship in 2021, but he could have had another one there on his resume. Not quite there, but big props to Trey Smith, though. Did everything he could have possibly done, threw everything except the kitchen sink at the 13, but did not quite get there, but still had a tremendous drive and a heck of an effort. Almost got it.
Mm-hmm. That was so close. But the thing is, even if Trey Smith got around Rodriguez would have still had an advantage because he had 7 points on him. In that moment, Trey Smith needed 7 points to get around Rodriguez there, and it just didn't quite work out for him. But that's a tough one right there for Trey Smith. But he did everything he could. The only downside was where he started. And obviously, with the shuffling at the beginning, he fell back to 19th. But ever since he was 19th, he went further and further through the field. He never fell back. Rodriguez was kind of up and down throughout the top 5 the whole race. Trey Smith never fell back, and he gave it all he could. But, you got to look at those 2 last-place finishes in a row midway through the season. That right there is what lost it for Trey Smith, unfortunately. And Rodriguez just consistently held it that whole time. 13 top 10s on the season for Rodriguez. This was his 7th top 5. He got that one win at Pikes Peak, which was enough to really propel him in this championship fight. But Trey Smith, so close, but he got the Indy 250 win. I'd still say a very successful season for Trey Smith. The first half was really good. The second half is where it kind of started to fall off for him. And then, of course, for Fitzwater. I think Fitzwater was another guy who we thought at the beginning of the season was going to have an excellent opportunity of winning this championship. And near the end, he really fell off from the highs that he had at the beginning of the season. He won 3 races within the first 8 races of the season. And we didn't see him after the Indianapolis 250. His brother, Trey Smith's brother, Landis and Machiner, also had a great season as well. And I think after all of it, Cole Raymond might end up being 3rd in the points because he won this race, his 2nd win of the season. He was 93 behind coming in, or technically 94 if you count the point for Rodriguez's pole. But Cole Raymond, I think, more than likely going to be the 3rd place driver in the championship this season behind Trey Smith and then the champion, Brian Rodriguez. What a race. That was a great race here at Pocono. I'm glad we did the finale here. I miss IndyCar here because it was kind of my home track, but I understand why in real life they don't come here anymore. I was in attendance for that 2018 race, and I would not want a repeat of that, but hey, we can do whatever we want in NR2003. No one's going to get hurt. That's the great thing about this game. And Cole Raymond gets it done in the Haas World Championship 200K, and Brian Rodriguez is your champion. Final thoughts on the season, and what are you looking forward to in 2023? We're anticipating a bit of a shorter season, but of course, the Indianapolis 250 going to be on everyone's minds once we get to Memorial Day weekend next year.
No doubt about it at all. 20 races, though, even if you're going to shorten the season, which is completely up to you, 20 races? Honestly, I kind of wish IndyCar had 20 races in real life because there's such a variety of tracks that they could go to. Obviously, maybe throw a couple more ovals on there potentially. But obviously, we'll have to see testing and everything. The package is much different they have now than they did in 2015, which a lot of people will point the finger to why they shouldn't do oval racing anymore. But the package is different. They spread out a little bit more. But here, again, as you said, NR2003, we can do pretty much just whatever the heck we want, and it's a good thing, too, because that was a tremendous race. It looked like I thought he was going to lead the whole thing flag to flag there for a little bit, but then they finally got up to him and got around, and man, I thought he was about to choke it away, but Trey Smith, again, he had to do more than just get around him. He had to get up there, get a few more positions and a few more points over Rodriguez, who had the advantage coming in. But goodness, what a championship battle here. What a way to cap it off. What a season. And if you're not looking forward to 2023, folks, I honestly do not know what to tell you.
Yeah, we're going to have a good season for Haas IndyCar next year, but the reason why the season's going to be shorter is we got something else coming over the horizon that I think most of y'all will really like. Josh kind of knows what I'm talking about to an extent, but I'm going to still keep it a secret because there's still a lot of things to figure out. But we'll get there, and we'll have a lot of fun next year here on the channel. Going to get back to old times a little bit, just a little bit, have some fun with it. But hey, what a season it was here in the Haas IndyCar Series, and thank you guys for sticking with me this season. I know there were times where I just didn't get to it. It is what it is, and there are times where I do not feel like doing it. It's not all what it used to be, but it still is. Races like this are why I still absolutely love doing this. But, hey, I'm an adult now, and I have to do adult things, and, I'm not a 15-year-old who's still in high school who has all the time in the world, I have to make money. That's just the way it is in this capitalistic society, so, you gotta figure it out, you gotta balance it, and, I'm trying to figure out how to balance it well and still enjoy it, and you know what, I think we're kind of getting there, so, hey, congratulations to Cole Raymond for getting the race victory here at Pocono, and once again, congratulations to Brian Rodriguez for winning the Haas IndyCar Series Championship. That's all, folks, from the 2022 Haas IndyCar Series. Turkey Hill Truck Series will continue on throughout the fall. The Thanksgiving 500 is just around the corner in 2 months, probably, about that time. It won't be that long, and got a lot of great stuff coming up here on AG, the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. On behalf of Josh Williamson, what else can I say? Thank you so much for sticking around and enjoying this race and this season. And here are the final point standings for the Haas IndyCar Series after 20 races. We'll see you guys next year, and we'll see you guys in about a week for the Turkey Hill Truck Series as well. We'll still be around. Have a good one. Have a great day. Congratulations to Cole Raymond and Brian Rodriguez, your champion once again. And I will see you guys later.